I want to be a YouTuber who makes beautiful videos about meaningful things in life, who expresses my ideas and thoughts about the world in creative and meaningful ways, in ways that give people chills and that make people feel inspired, that change people's outlook on the world for the better, I hope. I want to make videos about life, relationships, personal development, health, exercise, motivation, mistakes, lessons, travel, adventure, joy, wonder, and love. However, there are people that need my help right now. There are people stuck between a dream and a 6-hour marathon of bureaucracy. There is one whopper of a test standing in your way. And if you want to be a doctor, you have to do well in it. Not only do you have to do well in it, but you have to do well in all of it. So while I'm chasing my dream, I want to help you with yours, because you guys have been so kind and supportive and engaged with the content that I've been producing about the GAMSAT. I want to help you. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of Section 2 again. Today we are going to learn how to properly analyze prompts so that you can write an 80+ Section 2 GAMSAT essay. Hello and welcome, guys. My name is Kate Robson. If you haven't been here before or you don't know me, I scored 80 in Section 2 of the GAMSAT in the 2021 March sitting. This put me in the top 0.7% for that sitting. And since then, I've been posting content on YouTube to do with GAMSAT and other things to try and help people out so that they can score 80+, hopefully in the GAMSAT as well. And hopefully an 80 will get them the score that they need to get into medicine. Now, before we go on with the video, I do have a couple important announcements to make. For those who don't know, I've just started tutoring for Section 2 of the GAMSAT, and it's going really well so far. I'm helping a few people on their GAMSAT journey to try and write better essays and make sense of Section 2 and what it's actually asking you. I've still got room to take on a couple more students, so if that's something that you'd be interested in, please feel free to check out my website on the services page. I'll link that in the video description below so that you can find it. But just shoot me an email or reach out to me on Instagram with a tagline that says, "I need some help," or something creative to get my attention, and we can organize a session. So that was the first announcement. The second announcement is perhaps even bigger, and I'm very excited about it. So to give it some context, when I was preparing for the GAMSAT, I just spent hours and hours and hours scrolling through the internet trying to find information that would help me write a really good GAMSAT essay to get me the score that I needed. I spent hours of my time doing this and countless dollars of my own money doing this. And in the end, I got there, but the information was really disorganized. I feel like there is a bit of a gap in a practical, in-depth, straightforward access to specific Section 2 advice. And there isn't one place on the internet that you can go to get a step-by-step walkthrough of everything that you need to know to actually write GAMSAT Section 2 essays. So the announcement, drumroll please, is that I'm going to be creating an online course for you guys where all of that information will be. I'm really excited about this and I can't wait to make it. Currently, I'm still in the planning stage, but the outline of the course will consist of 4 modules. The first one will be like introduction, background, overview to Section 2 and to me. The second and third modules are going to be structured in the format of responding to the ACER Section 2 criteria specifically. So Module 2 is going to be about organization and expression, how to structure your essays, your style, your language, that sort of thing. And Module 3 is going to be about thought and content, so how to come up with good ideas, how to come up with good examples, and how to come up with good counter-arguments to strengthen your arguments. Module 4 is going to be just about exam day tips, final tips, and words of advice and encouragement, like I'm sure we all need before a GAMSAT sitting. So that course is just gonna be covering everything that you need to know to score highly in Section 2. Plus, there's also gonna be worksheets, activities, video, audio, access to 80 plus essays, and for an extra cost, you'll have access to coaching by me and an essay marking service so that you can put your practice into action. My aim for this course is to show people how I got 80, exactly how I got 80, so everything that I had to do to get my essays to that sort of level, and how you can do it too, so that you not only get the mark that you need to get into medicine, but also so that your writing transforms into a high level of writing that you can literally use for the rest of your life. The stuff that I learned preparing for Section 2 has helped me become a better writer. Now I write for fun with better structure. I hand in assignments that just make so much more sense and that are persuasive and strong. And I never would have been able to do this without learning the stuff that I did. So I want to share that knowledge with you guys so that you can learn it as well. Oh, and I want to remind you guys that I scored 80 without an arts degree, without having ever sat the GAMSAT before, and without really much essay experience at all. So if I can do it, I really believe anyone can, and I want to help you guys be able to do that too. I'm not going to give too much away anymore, but the course will be available for pre-sale very soon, and if that's something that you'd be interested in, then I would love for you guys to get in contact with me or leave a comment below and show your expressions of interest to see how many people might be interested in that. Please reach out to me, let me know, and you might even be able to help me shape some of the things in that course according to what you think you need in your preparation. Other than that, just stay tuned. I will announce when the pre-sale comes out, and then you guys can sign up and get in early. All right, so that's all the announcements I've got today. Let's get into the video. I realize I still want to give people free resources for Section 2 so that you guys can do well without having to fork out half your leg for it. So today we're going to be focusing on something that a lot of people struggle with. Some of the people that I tutor really struggle with this. I struggled with this when I was preparing, so I wanted to tackle it today head on with a proper strategy on how to overcome issues with responding to prompts in the GAMSAT. So I'm going to divide this video up into 3 parts. The first part is going to be addressing what the prompts are actually there for. Part 2 is going to be how to respond to the prompts the right way. And part 3 is going to be developing an idea or a thesis out of your interpretation. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. So what are the prompts actually there for in the first place? Why is it that ACER has decided to set essays in the form of a response to often famous quotes in literature or from people directly? Why did they choose to do that? They could have easily set a question for us. They could easily just write one statement and ask us to respond to that. Why is it that they give us 5 quotes for each essay? And I'll quote ACER directly from their information booklet. Each task offers a number of ideas related to a common theme. The theme will be general rather than specific in nature. An assessment focuses on the way in which ideas are integrated into a thoughtful response to the task. So if we kind of try and interpret that, like we are going to try and interpret some prompts, we can see that the prompts are really there to inspire us to find an idea in relation to that theme. They aren't there for you to directly analyze them. They're there to give you ideas, to encourage you to think deeply about the topic that they're putting forward. They're there to promote you to think about what it is you actually think about that theme or the message behind them. It's important to note that there's no wrong idea. Your ideas are your ideas. What you think about one topic is going to be different to what I think about one topic. And that's okay. That's the point of it. They want us to think independently so that they can get an insight into who we are. They want us to answer it truthfully, according to what we believe. Imagine if the GAMSAT was an interview and they asked you instead in conversation, you would answer truthfully. You wouldn't make something up that you thought that they wanted to hear, because they'd probably sense that you weren't genuine and they wouldn't let you in. So in that sense, I want to encourage you to think about the prompts that way and to encourage you to always answer prompts honestly. It's also important to note here that in most cases, if we were having that conversation and you were trying to convince me of your point, you probably in most cases wouldn't be able to change my mind. People are very stuck in their ways. We're stuck in what we believe, especially about big topics, about if it's something to do with like love or wealth or power or freedom. Everyone is very stuck in their ways. And that needs to be acknowledged in your essays. You're not there to necessarily change someone's mind about something. You're there to show them what you think, convince them clearly that that is your point, and to leave them with a nice message to take away to think about. But all in all, the prompts are there to show the markers who you are, what you believe in, and what kind of doctor you intend to be. Ultimately, your values will come out in your Section 2 essays. So ACER is kind of using that as a psychometric test to get to know you for who you are, because it's likely that those values will come out when you are practicing medicine eventually. Okay, so that all being said, how do we actually respond to prompts the right way? What is the right way? Well, first of all, let's tackle what the wrong way is. The wrong way to interpret prompts is to read them all quickly and look for a common word among them. That might be love, wealth, power, freedom, the things that I mentioned before. And say, yep, that's the theme, and go on and write an essay about that. We want to steer clear of doing that. And I know that that's said quite often on the internet in lots of resources, but I really want to stress here that we don't want to approach prompt responding in a reductive way that doesn't actually further analyze the quotes. So instead, I've got a method for you guys that you'll be able to put into practice every single time you go to write an essay to form a complex, nuanced, thorough response to any task. I'll be using a set of prompts as an example so that I can show you guys actually how to do it throughout each of the 4 steps. And the set of prompts that I've picked today are these to do with freedom. So the first step is obviously going to be read all of the prompts all the way through. In this step, you're going to be developing a sense of an idea of the message behind the quotes. So if we read through our example quotes, we've got the advancement and the diffusion of knowledge is the only guardian of true liberty. The second one is the most courageous act is still to think for yourself aloud. Third one is lock up your libraries if you like, but there is no gate, no bolt, no lock that you can set upon the freedom of my mind. The fourth one is when I discover who I am, I'll be free. And finally, for to be free is not to merely cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. Okay, so just reading through those, we can already get a sense of the message, the idea behind all of them. Yes, it is to do with freedom, but it's not just to do with freedom. There's more than that. So the next step is that we're going to read through them again and write down next to each of them about a 5-word simple summary of what the quotes are actually saying in language that you can understand. Often quotes are kind of hard to understand upon a first reading, like that's why they're there, to get you to think. So it makes it a lot easier if you go through and just write them in a way that you understand. So for this one, the first one I would say is like, we need to share knowledge to be free. The second one I would say is saying that courage is to share your thoughts. The third one is that freedom of mind is unstoppable. Fourth is to know yourself is to be free. And the fifth is something like freedom is to enhance the freedom of others. Now, just looking back on that, we can already see that I've made so much more sense out of each of the prompts, and I'm starting to really find the actual common theme or common message behind them. It's not simply freedom, but it's more about the freedom of mind, freedom of knowledge, and freedom of sharing knowledge with others. Already you can start to be like, oh wow, like that is kind of giving me more ideas than just freedom, because freedom is so broad, but if we analyze them like this, we narrow our scope and we can start to see a message behind them that is going to hopefully inspire an idea for an essay within us. So that's the third step, is to find the common message behind all of them. If you struggle to do this, really challenge yourself, ask yourself, what are they actually all pointing to? What are they trying to say? What do they share with each other? And what nuanced discussion are they all hinting at? So to summarize that, for this one, I'd say that the message behind them is that true freedom is knowledge and the ability to share it with others. So step 4 is to interpret that message into a question. It's a lot easier to answer questions than it is to answer statements. So I really encourage you to do this every time you analyze a set of prompts. That question might just be as simple as, what do I think about so-and-so? Like, what do I think about the statement that freedom is knowledge and sharing it? Or the question might be, if I encountered this in conversation, what would be my response to it? So for this one, I'd ask myself, what do I think about the statement that freedom is knowledge and the ability to share it with others, rather than just the physical embodiment of freedom? Can true freedom just be freedom of knowledge? Or is it more than that? Do I agree with these statements? Do I disagree with these statements? Is there somewhere in between that I think would make a little bit more sense to analyze freedom and true freedom from? That sort of thing. Here as well, know that there is no wrong way to interpret it. The way that you interpret it will be very different to the way that I interpret it, because our interpretations will be influenced by our background, our societies, our upbringings, our race, our culture, our sexuality, so many different things that influence our experience of the world. So the way that you interpret it is going to be great, because that's going to come from you. And I'd encourage you here to go with your gut. In the actual exam, you have to think really, really quickly. And going with your gut often means going with the first reaction that you have to something. So if you have posed these questions to yourself, you'll probably get an idea straight away that's like, oh yeah, that's actually how I feel about it. Don't question that too much, because you'll be able to develop and question that idea as you're developing your plan and writing your essay. But it's important just to get an idea out straight away, because you really will only have like 2 minutes to do this in an actual exam. So it's gonna have to be quick. Alright, so part 3 is developing a thesis or an idea out of your interpretation of the quotes. The way that we come up with an idea out of this interpretation is simply just to answer that question that you asked yourself before. So what is it that you think about the freedom of mind, the freedom of knowledge? What do you think? Answer that question, and that will be the essence of your thesis. I get asked a lot by students if it has to be an amazing idea, like if it has to be original and really thoughtful, like something that the markers wouldn't have heard before. The answer to that is no. The idea that you come up with is probably going to be something that you read in a magazine before or listened to in a podcast before. Ideas really just aren't original these days. Everything that I've thought before has been influenced by what someone else has thought before, and likely is a replicate of their idea. So don't put too much pressure on yourself to come up with an amazing original idea. Just come up with a solid idea that you believe in, and then it'll be more about how you communicate and deliver that idea. So if we go back to this example, my idea or thesis that would probably develop out of this set of prompts is that freedom of knowledge and freedom to share knowledge with others and the ability to have that option is definitely a big part of what freedom is. However, it does not constitute completely total or absolute freedom. No matter how free we are to express ourselves, we're all confined within the systems that we live in, influenced by the things I was talking about before, our experiences, our societies, our cultures, our geographical locations, the histories of the countries that we live in, and the systems of governance that they operate under. So freedom of knowledge is important to allow us to think for ourselves within these systems. But even then, our thoughts and our actions will be dictated somewhat by the societies that we live in. So maybe more like, if freedom is freedom of knowledge and freedom of mind and freedom of thought, then we aren't actually free, because our thoughts and our knowledge are still dictated by the societies in which we live. Something like that. Do you see where I'm going there though? I'm trying to develop a little bit more of like a nuanced response to the question. One that like isn't necessarily just agreeing with the prompts or disagreeing with it, but kind of like weighing up both sides to the argument and trying to develop a little bit more of like an in-depth idea to them to really get me and the marker thinking. The final thing is going to be to develop that idea into a thesis. Your thesis will only be like 1 or 2 lines long. It'll be 1 sentence, and you should be able to say and encompass everything within your idea into that thesis. make it clear, make it make sense, and make sure that after the reader has read that sentence or the marker, they know exactly what you're arguing for in your essay. So make it clear. I'm happy to make another video about actually creating theses and the idea of the contention as well. But that's also something that I'm thinking about including in the online course, because it's something that a lot of people ask about. Let me know if that's something that you'd like to see as well. All right, so just wrapping up, note that this is going to take practice. It's going to take time. You're going to have to do this process over and over again to get good at it. Don't expect yourself to get it or be good at it right away, because it will take time. But just keep at it, keep practicing it, do it every time you go to write an essay. And that way, by the time you get to your exam, you're going to be well prepared. It's going to come like second nature to you. Remember that this all has to be done in a couple minutes as well. So really focus on your timing and start shortening the amount of time that it takes you to respond to prompts. A thing that I would also suggest doing is to kind of like do this as a rapid fire. So test yourself to respond to 5 different sets of prompts in 10 minutes or something, with 2 minutes each, and try and come up with a thesis by the end of those 2 minutes for each of them. It'll really help you to challenge yourself to go faster and come up with ideas quicker, and that's ultimately something that will help you on the day of your exam in the end. Ultimately though, just keep at it, keep practicing, keep looking for resources and testing yourself to come up with good ideas. And I hope that this method works for you, helps you in some way, and hopefully you'll just get better and better. I hope that this video and this method helps you and that you find some use in it. If you do, please make sure to hit that like, comment, and even subscribe if you do enjoy this content, because it really helps me to grow and to get my message out there to try and help as many people as I can. So I would really appreciate it if you guys do that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys very soon.
So girls, move it around. If you see your main dog, get the brother a pound and just come on, just breathe, stop, for real, and give it what you got, just